Hello, and welcome to the Bar Business Podcast, where we help bar owners increase profits, attract loyal guests, and simplify operations so you can avoid burnout and finally enjoy your life outside of your bar. I'm your host, Chris Schneider, the Bar Business Coach. Before we get started, a quick thank you to our sponsors, Spot On, who provide a great modern POS solution for the bar and restaurant industry, and Starfish, who use AI to turn your books into actionable steps to increase profits. Today, we have a very special episode of the Bar Business Podcast. Joining me is Neal Bodenheimer. He is one of the top bar owners in the world and is the person largely in charge of Tales of the Cocktail. And Tales, for those of you who don't know, it's Friday. We don't normally drop an episode, but Tales starts Monday officially, but I think registration starts Sunday. Neal's going to give us some of that information. So we just wanted to jump in real quick and give you guys a little preview of what to expect if you're going, and help you learn a little bit more if you have no clue what we're talking about. So, Neal, first of all, thank you so much for being here.
Chris, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on the podcast, and we've gotten connected before, and so it's nice to be able to sit here and chat with you one on one.
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned in the introduction, just to give everybody a little bit of an understanding about your background, because you are absolutely one of the top bar owners in the world. You own multiple bars. I think you might even own a couple hotels. And I know that's not what we're here to talk about today, but give us just a real quick introduction on your background and kind of your journey in the hospitality industry.
Sure. Well, I've been doing this for a long time, so the journey is long and boring, but I'll do my best to give you some of the highlights. I'm not gonna give you my age, but I'll give you a few clues that I got my first bar job at age 18, which was 30 years ago. I was a bouncer at a college bar. I'm not a big guy, but I was a bouncer because I knew a lot of other 18-year-olds because it was 18 to drink in New Orleans at that time. So that is how I got my first job. And of course, I got the bug immediately. And I just always bounced in and out of hospitality. I went from bouncer and then I went to be a host at a fine dining restaurant. And I was just always in and out of hospitality. I opened a restaurant with my brother in Malaysia and a dive above a dive shop where we earned money in ringgit and did our best on an island running generators to run a little restaurant. And of course, we did not make enough money to justify walking away from our Eurail tickets. So we eventually moved on. But I moved to New York right after 9/11. We got a job working for Steve Hanson's company, Be Our Guest. And he was one of the first people to invest in a corporate mixologist who is still in and around hospitality. He's a really talented guy. His name is Evan Clem. And Evan took me under his wing and has been a big mentor for me over the years. And I just have been blessed to work with a lot of great people. And I eventually went to work for Danny Meyer at the Modern. And then after Katrina, I moved back to New Orleans. And after a few years, we bought a building and renovated it and helped revive the neighborhood that we were in. It's called the Ferret neighborhood of Uptown, and opened Cure in early 2009. And we are now officially 16 and a half years old. And we done a lot of great stuff there. We have Cane and Table, which is a 12-year-old restaurant. Cure is 16 and a half. I'm a partner in a hotel called the Celestine, has a great bar in it called Peychaud's. Celestine just got a Michelin key for the little hotel. We also have Val's, which is a really high volume but delicious Mexican restaurant down the street from Cure. I'm a partner in Dauphin's in Washington, D.C., and I co-chair the Tales of the Cocktail Foundation, which is my nonprofit job and a passion of mine. And, it's my way of trying to give back to the industry that has given me so much.
There is so much there, right? Like, I think we could probably talk about your background for hours. So hopefully I get you back on sometime to talk about that, because it's not at all what we're here to talk about today. So let's dive into Tales a little bit. With Tales, I know that it had started, it kind of got a base together, and at some point it was getting a little rocky. And then you jumped in with some folks and revived it and built it into what it is today. So tell us a little bit about kind of your journey getting involved with Tales and how you've built it up to where it is today.
Sure. So it has been a long journey. Tail started in 2002. The founder, Ann Rogers, built something exceptionally special. And it kind of grew up as the craft cocktail movement grew up. It actually grew up with it and helped it grow. It I went to my first Tails in either 2006 or 2007. And so, God, I've been doing it for a long time as I think about it. And I was just amazed by it because I think I was still in New York. And I just remember coming down and being like, oh my God, like all these people who I like admire their work, and like there's a community around this. Like I just thought I was interested and only a handful of people were interested, but there's like something happening here. And it's in my hometown. And so I was really drawn to it. It's interesting. I ended up meeting my future business partner, Kirk Stopenall, at a Tales Spirited dinner the Deaf and Company did,
Okay.
and our mutual friend Rob Cooper, who is no longer with us, and Rob was a terrific guy, really great guy, and he introduced me and Kirk, and we ended up working together and becoming business partners, and now we're still, after almost 17 years, still business partners in Cure and Cane and Table, and he's just a really wonderful guy, and we wouldn't have met each other without Tales of the Cocktail. And so I'm not kidding when I say Tales has given me a lot.
Well, it sounds like it. So, how do you go from being someone that's going to Tails to being the co-chairman and running Tails?
Well, the founders had to make some pretty substantial mistakes, and I never had any desire to run Tails, but I did know all the positivity that it did, that it created around our industry and what it meant to New Orleans. I mean, New Orleans may not be, historically may not be the home of cocktails. Like that's been disproven, but I do believe New Orleans is a spiritual home of the cocktail.
Mm.
And so it is, to me, it just belongs here and it makes the city better. And it also makes our summers are tough,
Mhm.
and Tails really buoys midsummer for us in a pretty substantial way. And I just knew that it was too important to let it fail, and it would have failed. It was very close to closing up shop. And I stepped in with the Solomon family, who are, tremendous New Orleans family, like just so well regarded, amazing philanthropists. And they said, we want to do something to give back, but we really want it to be a nonprofit that creates its own revenue so we can then give away its profits. We don't want to have to go and pass the hat every year. And they know, and like they both, Gary and the entire Solomon family, they they love hospitality. They have always loved hospitality. And they were like, look, you know, we we engage with chefs and bartenders and servers and all the in this entire industry in New Orleans, and we love them and we want to show that we care. And they said, we would like to purchase Tails if we can figure out how to make it work, but we really won't do it unless you do it with us. And I had been trying to help the previous owners kind of find the right steward, not thinking that I was going to be involved. But I love Gary and Gary. It's been really blessed to work with great people in the foundation, like Caroline Neighbors, who was our first executive director, Eileen Weiner, who is our current CEO, and our new executive director, Charlotte Boise, who just left William Grant after years and years. I can't even think about William Grant without thinking about Charlotte. And now she is our new executive director, and we're just really thrilled. But it's just the level of talent. And that's just in the leadership of our team. Our
Right.
team, I could name so many people that we work with now and used to work with that are so talented and have done so much to help give back to the beverage industry. And that's been the great thing, is that not only are we creating a festival and doing fun stuff, but our whole mission is to give back throughout the year. And that's what we do. And I'm thrilled to be a part of that.
Well, and it's really amazing how you guys bring everyone together because not only do you have this amazing staff internally, the folks that you bring in and the speakers you bring in and the educational opportunities you have, and all these different pieces of what you do, it's amazing the talent you get and how large of a production this actually is.
I don't even know how we do it. I'm going to be honest. But so, it's interesting. And that brings up a great point. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, Tails is sourced by bartenders and bar owners and brand ambassadors and distillers. And we, our job is to follow the industry, right? It's our job is for them. Like the industry has to tell us what they want and what they need. And it's our job to have our ear to the ground, but we can't do that without our incredible committees. that come through. I mean, our education committee works tirelessly to put together the best education in the world. And our Spirited Awards committee does an incredible job making sure that the best bars in the world for this year, it's very timely. It's like we look at the previous year and we say, okay, who has done, who's doing the best work over that time. And they work their butts off to do that. And our philanthropy and development committee, and they work their butts off to make sure that we're giving away our profits in the appropriate way, and that we're making sure that people that need grants, that we're putting money in the right hands for issues that are important to the industry. And it's awesome. And I'm always so honored at how many people get involved at Tails and how many people give their time and their talent to make it what it is. And it's not, I mean, I mean, I'm not kidding. You hear the cliche, it takes a village. It
Hmm.
takes a village plus plus to make Tails what it is. It is every single attendee makes Tails what it is. The magic of in-person gathering is is everybody that comes through and comes to support Tails in the industry in New Orleans.
Well, and one thing I think is really unique in what you just said, and too often I feel like in the hospitality industry, we have people from outside the industry say, "Oh, this is what you want," and then they give us what they think we want without actually knowing the industry. Versus the way you guys are handling it, which it's all organic from within the industry. It's okay, not what some exec at some company thinks we want, but what the bar owner, the bartender, the server, what they actually want.
So it's really fascinating. And there's always this push and pull in spirits, right?
Mhm,
Between off premise and on premise, right? Between
mhm,
bars and restaurants and large beverage outlets like liquor stores and big box stores, and what means the most for spirits companies and
mhm.
wine companies and beer companies. And it is, often sometimes it skews towards off premise. But the reality is that there was just a study done by Forbes that said 83% of luxury consumers, 83% ask their bartenders what they should drink.
Wow.
Bartenders build brands. Bartenders do this every night in a bar. And
Mhm.
no, they can't sell a bottle of booze unless you're at a club. Can't sell a bottle of booze at a time. Yes, they have to sell it one pour at a time, which makes it harder to move. But if you talk about hearts and minds, bartenders win hearts and minds every time. And the really cool thing about Tails, the really cool thing is that we don't have to bring in outside consultants to tell us what people think bartenders need, like you said, right? The outside consultants come to us to learn from the bartenders to then go sell it somewhere else, right? Like this is the source.
Yeah, it's really education in the best way possible in that regard, right? And so
Mhm.
we were looking earlier at everything going on at Tails, and I will tell you right now, if you're planning to go, I don't know how you would even do a tenth of everything that is offered because it seems like for every hour of every day, you guys have 3, 4, 5 different events going on somewhere around New Orleans.
I mean, look, it is multifaceted, right? You could come to Tails and never go to 1 ounce of education and just go to brand activations and parties. And some people do that, right? You could go to Tails and only get education and never go to a single party and be like, wow, I had like the most, in-depth education I can think of. But the reality is that Tails is everybody has their own interests, and Tails has a
Mhm.
little bit of something for everybody. And everybody, it's like choose your own adventure, right?
Yeah,
And your experience at Tails is totally different than someone else's experience. And in that way, if you ask somebody what Tails means to them, you would get as many different answers as we have attendees, because there is just it takes you could never do it all.
right.
You have to choose, and you have to be, or I mean, the more organized, the better. But you have to be if you want to like hit as many things as possible. I have to say I've been known to do this. If before I got involved on the tail side, I mean, I was running bars and restaurants during this week,
Mhm.
and so I was at bars and restaurants. But the best way is to really just kind of go with the flow and like and meet people and network and just use the and I'll say the term again, the magic of in person events, and to network and to make real relationships. And that's what's and that's what matters to me. That's what I think really moves the needle about tails. Oh, but given where we are and what you talk about, let's it was funny. We were thinking about what we were going to talk about before this and trying to like strip down the million parts of tails. And we successfully, I think, stripped down to what this podcast is about.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit through those. And so for anyone that's going, considering going, what we're talking about, these are all Monday through Thursday of next week.
Mhm.
And registration does start Sunday though, right?
Yeah,
So
it
you're not
does. In fact, this is the first year that we're going to have registration at the airport. So we're really excited.
so fly
So
in, register, and you're good to go.
yeah, you literally on your way out of the airport, you can just go register. And the cool thing about our registration is that when what a lot of people don't know is our registration, I'm sure you can imagine that, that for everybody that works in bars and restaurants that listens to your podcast, one of the most important things that we do is verify people's age to stay
Mhm.
compliant, right? So our wristband, you have to verify your age to get our wristband.
Okay.
So what people forget is that when they have a Tails wristband and they go to Tails, they're already verified. So if someone's like, "Hey, I need to see your ID," be like, "Hey, I already registered.
Oh,
It's right
nice.
here."
So that makes everything easier for both the bar owners and the people operating
Yeah,
establishments there and the people
yeah,
attending.
exactly. I mean, we spend so much time getting compliant with the Louisiana ATC, and they're incredible partners of ours, and we have to work really hard to make sure that every one of the thousand events that happens is compliant, right? And that
Mhm.
they don't have an ATC agent come through the door and be like, "What are you doing here? And why are you breaking the law?" So we want to make sure everybody's doing it by the book.
So let's go ahead and let's talk through a couple of the things that are going on.
Sure.
Because I know there are some that we looked at and we said, okay, if you listen to this podcast and you're going to Tails, these are probably events that you would want to hit. And so Monday, we're starting out. I know the first one is Mob of Mentors, which is one that you really enjoy. So
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about it.
so, Mob of Mentors is a recurring event that Bacardi has put on. This year, it's put on by Patron, a division of Bacardi. Lauren Moat is going to run it this year, and it's got Anna Sebastian and Ian McPherson of Panda and Sons, and Eric Van Beek of Handshake Speakeasy, Alicia Perry of CH Projects, Faye Chin of Double Chicken Please, Daniel Nanevsky, who's an incredible personality from Indie Bartender Company, and then Diego Cabrera of Salmon Guru. And so, really incredible, experienced people, and like you it's an opportunity for people that are a little less experienced to go listen to people at the top of their game and explain their journey, their story, what they've learned. And it's funny. You would think that it would just be people that are getting their start in the industry, but like I am equally interested as some and so many people I know who are vets are just as interested in what this list of luminaries has to say. And in years before, it's all been different people. It's so fascinating, and it's a great room to be in. And I really think it's a
Yeah, and I think that's a really good call out, right? Not always just because you've been in the industry forever. Maybe somebody else is doing something you haven't thought of yet. And so a panel like that you can get one tidbit of information that can change your entire course in the industry.
I mean, I would think you would get more than one tidbit. I mean, like
Right.
in most talks, you hope to get that one nugget that
Yeah.
you bring forward that you're like, oh my God, this is like really made a difference on me. Like with a group of people that are that accomplished, like it, I would hope you get at least one, right?
Right. But regardless if you are, you're going to walk away with good content from that.
No doubt.
Looking a little bit later on Monday into Monday afternoon, we have content creators and cocktails. Tell me if I'm mistaken here, but that's all about social media presence.
Correct. And just the fact that the algorithm, it changes all the time. And
Mhm.
we were just literally in my own company, Curco, we were talking about it, that it's like sometimes it feels like social media has turned into traditional advertising, right?
Mhm.
And good for them because they've got to make they got to make a buck. But it used to be that you use social media because you could put a lot of energy in to get free advertising, and you can
Yeah,
still figure out ways to game that, but it's much harder to do it for free.
absolutely.
But it's people, this is a panel of people that really like live online and work online, and make their career online. So like my good friend Pamela Wisnitzer is incredible. She makes incredible content. There's Donald Adler, who's a senior social content producer for NBC Universal and Bravo. Sarah Snyder, who's the head of partner acquisitions for YouTube. And then Caitlin Stewart, who's got she's another incredible content creator and another great person from Likeable Cocktails. And she's also a bar and beverage consultant. So you really have like a little bit of like, you know, professionals in the world of content. And then you have two people in the bar world that are doing it every day in and day out online and making a living. I think it's a certainly if you're around and you, I mean, I think we almost all use social media at this point for our businesses. So like, I mean, how could you not want to get better at it and learn more? And it's, it's, it is a constant pursuit to stay on top of it.
Well, absolutely. And it all changes so quickly. I mean, even if you live online, right? It's very hard to keep up on all this. And if you're a bar owner running around, it's almost impossible to keep up on all of this. And then Tuesday, there's another one called Breaking the Algorithm, which is again about content, how we get stuff out there and making sure you get delivery of your message.
Yeah. And I think that's an important thing, right? It's like, I think, you've got in the first seminar, you've got, Pam and Caitlin,
Hmm.
who are online and who are beverage influencers and creators. And then, you go into what's next is like, how do you, I think what's really fascinating about this, it's talk about breaking free from the echo chamber of the digital age, right? And I think that's really important that like it acknowledges that we've all kind of had to become visual creatives and it's kind of trapped us in a cycle. And so I think this one is really interesting because it's talking about how we can break that cycle. And it's looking forward. Whereas I think, and I'm sure that the first one will look forward a little bit too, but I think this one is like what's working now. And I think that breaking the algorithm is like, how do you break out of what's now for what's next?
And then a little bit later on Tuesday, because there's just so much to talk about. I'd love to dive into all these more, but we really don't have the time. So
Yeah.
looking forward on Tuesday, then we have one stand out and nail the interview, which I think is great because a lot of people that come to this, right? Yes, there's a great content for bar owners, but also there's great things here for bartenders, for servers, for people looking to get into management, for managers thinking about becoming owners. You really cover all of it. And so that's a great educational piece on just how to help people currently in the industry to get themselves ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, that it's one of the important things that we do is that, it's about progressing your career. You don't come to Tails because you want to get worse or stand still at what you do. You come to Tails because you want to get better,
Yeah.
right? And so what could be more important than figuring out how to nail an interview, right? And figuring out how to make sure that you can make your dreams come true. And, it's between Anna Sebastian and Douglas Lee and Janiqua Davis, like you've got like really competent people and accomplished people who can give you some of the tips and tricks that they've learned over the years.
And so then looking even later on Tuesday, mind you guys, it actually, you guys, when you're listening, you probably think we're talking through a lot of this. We're talking through maybe 1%, well, maybe 5%, but this is a minuscule amount of what actually goes on at Tails. But if we look more towards the end of Tuesday, how to PR your bar on a budget, which I think is a great topic with how many bar owners are out there that aren't necessarily, they don't have the marketing budgets that a lot of the larger companies have.
And look, it's exactly right. Well, what does PR do, right? But what are the things that you can do on your own? What are the things where you might need PR so that maybe you can lessen the scope if you're going to use PR? You've got Takuma Wanatabe, who's the beverage director of Martinis, and Martinez is certainly a media darling. And then you've got vice president of teen PR Raven McMillan, Ignacio Jimenez Nacho from Super Bueno, who's the operating partner there. I mean, he just won beverage the James Beard for best beverage professional. And and some of these companies have PR, don't get me wrong, but and also Joanna Lynn, I'm sorry, and she does PR and social for employees only in Martinis and Shinji's. So like like Takuma and Nacho, they certainly, I would imagine, have PR. I know Nacho does for sure. But, the question is are they paying a massive retainer, or are they, figuring out what their PR, how to pay PR efficiently, and how to stay on budget?
Absolutely. And that's, I know from a lot of bar owners, that's very difficult to pull off that balance,
It
which
is.
kind of takes us to one of the ones I wanted to talk about on Wednesday morning, which is profit with precision, three key steps for a financially viable bar business. So if you listen to this podcast, that's probably the one that
Mhm.
will sound the most like what we talk about here on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, it was very important for me to start when we took over Tails. We wanted to kind of divide the education and make sure that business had a place at Tails, because the reality is that I'm living proof. Like, I didn't go to business school. I had to learn how to run a bar from other people. I had to make mistakes. I had to do all the things, and it's important for us consistently to have seminars like this. And Kate and Erica are really, very talented bartenders. Kate owns her own bar, and it just think it's really critical to understand how to make sure, you can have lofty ideals, you can know what you want to do, you can want to do the most amazing stuff in the world. But if your business doesn't make money and it's not viable, it doesn't matter what you do, because you're not going to be around to do it. And I just like, this is the kind of education that we do at Tails, that I think if you're getting started, or you're running a bar, or you want to run a bar, like, you got to make time to go do these things. We
Mhm.
have to do continuing education and professional development.
Well, and especially when, the industry has not gotten easier post COVID. Damn.
No, it has not. And so it is hard as hell right now.
Looking at a couple other things on Wednesday. So one of the ones that I think is really interesting is talking about the global bar design revolution. So kind of digging into some of the not what we're doing, but where we're doing it.
Yeah. I mean, look, bar design for the most part hasn't changed substantially. Like, there are a few people that have looked forward on it. And these are three of them. Tobin Ellis, who has Bar Magic, and he has the Tobin Ellis stations for Perlick. I mean, Tobin has really changed the way that underbar is done in the US. And then Alexander, and it looks like Sam from his company might be stepping in. It's a little unclear from the description, but I know Alexander, and he's incredible from behind bars. Their work is outstanding, and they build the European style bar stations that have really taken the world by storm. And their designs are just incredible. And then April Wachtel of Cheeky Cocktails. And so, they're sitting and talking about how we can change bar design to make our operations more efficient. Often, so many of us do cocktails now, and we have to design our bars appropriately, but we can only design our bars as well as the stations that are built for us. And so there's been this really incredible revolution in bar design, and it's a great opportunity to learn more about it. And if you're renovating your bar or starting a new bar, like, how do you make it so that your team has the proper tools to just, pardon my French, kick ass, rather than
Absolutely.
have to work extra doubly hard to do what they to get beverages out.
Well, and to me, one of the fun things about a seminar like that too can be these are the brand new changing things around the world. Well, heck, if you're in the Midwest, if you're in most of the South outside of New Orleans and Florida, things move real slow.
Yeah.
And you can watch this and digest it and put out something that no one's ever seen, but is also a tested concept with real proof behind it.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I actually think the next one that we were going to talk about is really interesting, which is about AI insights and social media. And
Mhm.
it's called the future of profitability, which anybody you talk to, me, you, anybody that is running restaurants, bars, hotels, we are all trying to figure out how to get more profitable, because profitability's got so much harder, right? And naturally, the things that we lean on to get more profitable are the insights that we get from different reporting, social media, and trying to get people through the door and try and engage outside of our four walls. but also AI, which we know is, we're all just figuring out. And so it's a big discussion about profitability and how these and how the things that exist and are changing day by day are going to affect that. And I got two really good friends on this panel: Adrian Biggs, who's the director of trade advocacy for Bacardi, and then Gary Groover, who's the director of global beverage for Marriott International. And then you've got Simone Ventura from Bacardi, and Melky Ko, from the CEO of Ground Signal. So really also another great conversation about how to make money. Like we're
Mhm.
I love, for years I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I hoped to be able to stay in business. And then the longer you're in this business, you realize that you are in business to make money, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to figure that part out to be able to do everything else. You have got to focus on profitability to do the things you want to do. You can go check out 1,000 seminars, but you got to have these things about making money on there if you want to stay in business.
Well, I don't know that truer words have ever been said, but a couple things on Thursday I want to talk about before I let you go. One is small cities, big cocktails, which is Thursday morning, which I think is great because tell me if I'm wrong here, but the concept there is owners of bars in smaller locations
Yeah.
that are not in New York, Las Vegas, New Orleans, places like that, and what their insights are based upon being in a smaller location.
Yeah, and so it really is. It's a pretty important idea, right? I mean, like, we just talked about bar stations. Like, how many bars are in? There are a lot of bars in New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco and Chicago, but like most of the bars in the U.S. are not in those markets,
Right.
right? And so, like, how do you make sure that if you're putting a ton of time and effort in, and you really want, you're putting national and international quality programs, how do you break out of your small city and get the appropriate recognition, right? And Whitney has done a great job at Boat Drinks in St. Augustine, and Nathaniel at Gigantic, and Joe Stinchcomb at Bar Muse in Oxford, Mississippi. I mean, it's really cool, and it's something near and dear to my heart. I really believe that, I know this sounds crazy, but if Tails didn't exist, I do think New Orleans would be kind of a cocktail backwater. And we are not, Tails helps bring people through our city, but like we're not a big city. And how do you keep up? How do you make sure that if you're putting in hard work, that you get noticed nationally and internationally? And I think it's a worthwhile discussion.
Absolutely. And the last one I want to hit on real quick is the last great third space, why we must protect our social spaces, because I think that of all of them is playing into a lot of what we hear from Gen Z, from the younger millennials about not having spaces to hang out, not having spaces to get together. And bars really are a very unique third space in our society and always have been.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, look, from even before the beginning of this country in North America, bars played an important part. And they always have, and I hope they always will. I just think that there is something that happens when people sit together in person, and I'm a big believer in it, and we have to preserve them because it's probably one of the things that's going to help keep our society together, right? And it's easy to tell someone to f off when you don't know who they are and you're doing it on a computer screen. But it's a lot harder to tell someone F off in person, right?
Yeah.
Because you really have to listen to somebody and you have to do your best to see their perspective. And that's how we solve our problems, right? And it's also how we meet each other. It's how you have these like really special, I'll say it again like a broken record. It's the magic of in person. And the magic of in person is that you can't there's no energy when you're on a video call, right?
Hmm.
I mean, like, we're doing it right now and we're having a great conversation, but like it's not the same as being next to each other in person, talking and
Right.
riffing off of each other. It's just not. And that's just one aspect of this digital world that we live in. And I'm certainly here for the discussion. I think that we have got to figure out ways to get people together and in the same space more often. And I think it's critical for the future of our society.
I couldn't agree more. So we've covered some great events that are going on in Tails. We've talked a little bit of history. Real quick so that everybody knows if they want. Well, first question, actually, just pulling this out of nowhere. I assume you can still register, right? So if you
Oh
hear
yeah,
this today, you can register, you can show up, you can be
yeah,
involved.
yeah. If you haven't decided you're going to come to Tails, you can still get in your car or buy a plane ticket and come down. Like, it's the summer in New Orleans. Hotels are cheap, right? Like, it was built in the summer so the bartenders could afford to come. So it's never too late. It's never too late. And if you decide and you want to end up at some of the parties that the brands do, like, ask the brands you work with in your home market. Be like, hey, are you guys at Tails? What are you doing? Let me know. I'd love to go to your party.
Perfect. And if someone does decide randomly today, hey, I want to do this, and I'm going to get down there on Sunday, where do they go to get more information?
Okay. Tales of the Cocktail.
Perfect. And so we'll link that down in the show notes so you guys
Yeah.
can scroll down and see it.
And then the app for the festival is the Hova app. UHOVA. It's our conference app.
So we'll put that information in the show notes as well. Neal, I have to say, thank you so much for taking this time right before Tails starts to kind of give us a preview of what's going on. Is there anything that you think regarding Tails or anything else that we haven't hit that you would like to get out there before I let you go?
I mean, there's so many things. I mean, I think, the only thing I would say is I would invite everybody who listens to your podcast to, even if you don't come this year, to come next year or the year after, like, be a part of this community, give back, get involved. Like, this is the career we have all chosen. Like, you've got to invest in your career, you've got to invest in your community, and we would love to see you.
Well, Neal, again, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate getting to have this conversation with you right before Tails start.
Well, thanks for giving me an excuse not to work.
That about wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed today's insights, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a review. If you are ready to take your bar to the next level, schedule a strategy session with me by clicking the link in the show notes below. Until next time, have a great day, and we will talk again later.